The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Wake up the echoes is a catchphrase that a team with the first letter N likes to use and claim as their catchphrase, that being Notre Dame. But since they stole Oklahoma's play like champions locker room sign, we're going to take their catchphrase and we're going to give it to a more deserving team that starts with the letter N, that being those Nebraska Cornhuskers. Seems like Matt Rhule may be building something special in recruiting as he just got a major flip from a major player from the Georgia Hedge Pissers. Is Nebraska going to finally be back? Let's talk about it. Woo! Well. Look at what we have here. If it ain't another episode of the Outlaw of College Football. And today's Four Horsemen shout-outs go to MR, Jack Acker, Brian Johnson, and Jeff Payton are riding on in once again with us to help us with today's college football invasion. Here they come. The Outlaw Posse is now in effect. And we also have a new Outlaw Posse member today getting deputized is Trucking with Cliff. If you want to get your badge and get deputized like Trucking with Cliff and possibly be a random Four Horseman shout out like the other four guys we just talked about, all you got to do is hit that join button next to the subscribe button. It's down to $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a bottle of water. Also, you can reach me on Twitter at OCF Productions. Now, getting right to it here. Seems like Nebraska has done some flipping out there. They're not flipping anybody off, but they've done some major flipping. They just flipped Dylan Raiola, number 2 quarterback in his class from the Georgia Hedge Pissers. Big time flip from a big time program. Does this signify that Nebraska's back? No, but it's a very good indication that Matt Rhule knows what he's doing and he knows how to evaluate situations, and he also knows how to play to things that might be able to benefit him, like the fact that Dylan grew up as a Cornhusker fan. His dad, Dominic, has his jersey retired here at Nebraska, number 54. He's a legacy at Nebraska. His Uncle Donovan is there. And I'm going to bring up an article here that's probably going to make you Nebraska people rather happy because it's just been so long since Nebraska's been extremely relevant and consistently relevant. Now, they made a few good runs back in the early teens, I think, with Bo Pelini, but nothing of significance that would signify that you would think Nebraska's back. We'll go to this article right here. Scroll up here. It says, why Dylan Raiola's commitment marks a new era for Nebraska. 5-star quarterback Dylan Raiola is set to become the highest-rated recruit ever to sign with Nebraska. And did NIL play a part in it? Well, of course it did. But that don't matter because it's not cheating anymore. For the Huskers, the commitment of superstar quarterback Dylan Raiola, who ranks number 2 in the class of 2024, as I said, is an inflection point for a former Blue Blood program that has hovered outside the closed doors of college football party for more than a decade. Like I said, it doesn't signify they're all the way back. No, but it's a damn good start, right? He said he's the highest-rated player since Ndamukong Suh. So that's a pretty vast company for Raiola to be in that comparison with Ndamukong Suh as far as his status as a signee. It says, why did Raiola flip from Georgia to Nebraska? Raiola, as I said, is he is the son of former Nebraska legend. His family is Husker royalty and has always been interested in Nebraska, and the pull has been constant. We just touched on that. You scroll on down here and they talk about rebuild is a dirty word in the NIL era particularly. But if Coach asks for fans' patience, after all, why not fix every issue overnight via the transfer portal? That's not Rhule's style. And my boy Kill Breeze will really like that because, as I put here in my notes, Rhule's blueprint is simple: recruit and develop, and do not rely on the transfer portal. And I think that's very important. Yes, you can get some great players out of the transfer portal, but more times than not, those players are leaving for a reason. And, coaches like Linky Boy, Stinky Linky out there in Los Angeles with the Skittle Shitters, he thinks the transfer portal is the way to go, as well as Con-Time Deion Sanders. Well, they're about to find out it's a glass house. Yeah, like I said, you're going to get great players every once in a while, like Alabama did with Jameson Williams, who's a wide receiver from Ohio State. But for the most part, you're getting players that couldn't cut it where they were at. And what Lincoln Riley and Con-Time Deion Sanders are doing is relying on other coaches to do their evaluating for them because they obviously can't evaluate high school talent as well as they need to recruit on their own accord. Now, Lincoln Riley, granted, he's a great evaluator of quarterback and possibly wide receiver talent, but other than that, he's not any good. He's not across the board with his recruiting prowess. And that's the problem that you're going to run into in the future with all these people that are just piling up on. Let me stop this screen for y'all. They're piling up on transfer portals. Matt Rhule said, y'all going to be mad at me for outworking y'all, and y'all probably going to make little snide comments, like him and Con-Time Deion have already had a back and forth. But we're going to do this thing right. And for someone to say, well, you got that Dabo syndrome. No, not really. He's wanting to develop his own players, bring in people that have bought into him already from the get-go. They're not coming to him secondhand. Another important thing that's mentioned in this article, and sometimes it seems like people frown on this, but I don't know why, because everybody at this point is doing it. And if they're not doing it, they're just probably going to get left behind. Is the NIL collective could save Nebraska football. Nebraska football for the last 20 years or so has been teetering on just being abysmal and slipping off into the past like other great programs way back in the day did. It says NIL collective could save Nebraska football and bring it back. A large fan base that sold out every game since 1962. It's called the 1890 Initiative. I'm assuming that's when their program was started. That's where they got the name. The 1890 Initiative's goal was $500,000, with an extra $250,000 being matched by an anonymous donor. So that's pretty huge for Nebraska going forward, that they actually got their fan base behind them. People don't realize how large Nebraska's fan base is. They have a huge following. A lot of people don't associate with Nebraska as being a hub for popularity, but because they're out in the middle of nowhere, really, the state of Nebraska, but they have a huge fan following. Now, some of them get a little bit older, but this is the time to try to capitalize on a great program builder like Matt Rhule and do what you got to do now to get Nebraska football back to where it belongs before it's too late. And they're going to have to be patient with Matt Rhule, I think. And I think that it will pay off sooner than they think it will, probably the next 2 or 3 years. Like I said, he's built up teams like Temple and Baylor. Baylor was one off and on, but for the most part, Baylor's just a middling of the road program. He built them up after a big, huge sex scandal there. And before that at Temple, where nobody really wins, he took a team that was going like 1-11 or 2-10 or something like that, and took them, I think, to a couple of conference championships. So this guy knows how to build programs. We just got to be patient with it. Now, last thing I want to touch on before we get out of here is the whole Nebraska versus Oklahoma rivalry. A lot of the Oklahoma fans that are on my channel spoke very highly of Nebraska, wished that the Nebraska and Oklahoma rivalry could come back as a regular thing. And I had an idea, and I think something that's probably being discussed anyway, from what I'm hearing, is that since Oklahoma State, Okie Pokey State, Okie Chokie State, whatever y'all want to call them, I'm however old that man is, don't want to play Oklahoma anymore. They'll say they do, but they don't. And since Oklahoma State don't really want to bone up and keep a rivalry, supposed rivalry, it's 91-20, why not re-sign a long-standing rivalry with Nebraska? And that's what I've been hearing that they're going to do. And that's what they should do. Because Oklahoma and Nebraska, that rivalry was a lot more important and a lot bigger and more entertaining than Okie Pokey State ever was. And it would really be a poke in the eye for Oklahoma State if Oklahoma and Nebraska restarted their epic rivalry. They would just sign a 10-year deal like Alabama and Penn State did back in the day in the 1980s. Sign your little 10-year deal, see how it works out. If it don't work out, well, then just move on and just play each other periodically like you've been doing. But I think it would be a real good thing to do. And like I said, it would be sticking it to old Mike Gundy as well. And that's all I got to say about that today. There's a little heart down here. If you don't mind, you can make a one-time donation to the program. Hit that. Throw a few dollars in the coffers. Also, as I said before, earlier in the podcast, you can join the Outlaw Posse for $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. You'll get your badge, you'll get deputized, and you'll get your random Four Horsemen shout-outs, possibly be the comment of the day. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.